Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video I have a solid replay for you here in the premium Tier 8 German battleship, the mighty Tirpitz. I'm divisioned up with my buddy Puddin. He's playing in his Tier 8 Japanese premium heavy cruiser, the Otago, and we're playing some domination here on the map Mountain Range. So, couple reasons why I wanted to show you guys this replay. The first of which is, of course, it is some solid battleship gameplay. I rack up over 200,000 damage, manage to secure a Kraken, and we end up winning the game. So obviously, a very solid result and something that I think you guys would enjoy seeing. But also, just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the high-tier battleship meta and how the Tirpitz has changed ever since World of Warships was first released. Obviously, this game is over a year old. I believe it came out last October at some point. And the Tirpitz has been in the game longer than that, as a matter of fact. If any of you guys played the closed beta, there was an offer way sometime last year in the premium shop where if you bought the Tirpitz bundle, you'd be given a free code to try out the closed beta. So this ship has been in the game for over a year, about a year and a half now. And there's some other ships in the game that are definitely pushing it for at least the title of the best Tier 8 battleship, or just one of the best Tier 8 through 10, the high-tier battleships. You know, you have ships like the Bismarck, which trade the torpedoes for glorious secondaries, which sure make the Tirpitz... it's a bit difficult to deal with those ships, the Bismarck, that is. And... you also have ships that are better financially speaking, like the new Missouri. The Mighty Mo now is the ship to go for getting some ridiculous amounts of credits and XP in a game. You can certainly get over 1 million with that ship. So I guess this ship is not necessarily getting left behind by power creep, but there are other ships that are certainly giving it a run for its money. I mean, it has great armor, it has decently performing guns, you get the torpedoes, which I mentioned, decent AA on a pretty mobile platform. It's a very good battleship, and it's one that I've always had much success in as I get my first salvo downrange at the Pensacola. The Pensacola is like a carrier in World of Warships. If you see one, you shoot at it. Obviously, the shots are going to be well off the mark as he turned in. But I digress. The Tirpitz is, yeah, it's still really good here. And if you don't have one, I definitely suggest getting it. I bought this ship during the summertime, and I've played about 100 games in it, and average damage, XP, credits, all of that is just very good stuff, and I really enjoy the ship. But anyway, on to the gameplay. Like I said, we're playing some domination here on the map Mountain Range. You don't really see this map too often. 306 to 300. We have captured Alpha. My buddy Puddin is moving over into the islands on the left, and I also have some friendlies in the Leningrad and the Atlanta that are getting some smoke up and launching torps downrange at the enemy ships that are coming against us. There's a Pensacola, the Otago. There's a pair of battleships behind them as well. So as my first shot lands for about 4,000 damage on the Otago and knocks out a turret, I tell Puddin, all right, man, I'm going to move into Objective Alpha here. I'm going to come over to you nearer towards the islands, and we're going to get stuck in here. But I do take my time in doing so. I'm only going at half speed, moving up to 3/4, and I just kind of want to gauge the situation and not go pushing in too fast. There's also an enemy Bismarck that has appeared here as well with the Tirpitz and the North Carolina. When this thing is top tier, it can still do some work. And a broadside stopped Pensacola. Oh yeah, I'm going to shoot at that. There could be a DD 4 kilometers in front of me, and I'd probably shoot at the Pensacola. Well, maybe not. But when you get stuff like this... about 18,000 points of damage, very solid stuff. A Citadel and a couple other shell hits. Hey, I'd take the shot as well. 297 to 330. We have lost one of our destroyers, and the Atlanta up in the smoke in front of me has taken quite the pounding, and he continues to take it as is. But he's about to get the kill here on the Pensacola, and as I'm considering going for the kill shot, I instead decide to swing my front guns onto the Bismarck and get my rear turrets swinging around to the starboard side of the ship. And then at this moment, I decide full speed ahead, and I'm going to go over here and try to use the islands to my advantage. We lose the Atlanta, unfortunately. We're down 2 ships already. We are about to capture Objective Bravo as the enemy team has moved into Objective Charlie. 18,000 damage done so far. So I'm getting the reload back here on my front guns. The North Carolina does take a punt at me with his forward guns as I shoot my forward ones back at him as well, and I turn slightly into starboard, and I'm going to dodge all of his shells, I think. Yep, they land just off my port side. So at this point, the North Carolina is going to make an incredibly stupid play, and it's going to allow us to break this game open and really going to let me get going here with this Tirpitz. Now, one thing that you can do to defeat the Tirpitz is that it doesn't have the best gun performance in terms of accuracy. It's actually one of the least accurate battleships in the game. I don't know if it holds the title of most. I'd certainly say the Miyogi might fit that title. But this ship is very inaccurate, as I land quite a few hits, of course. Always got to contradict yourself with the gameplay, right? But anyway, it it's just not very accurate. And to get solid, consistent damage, you really do have to get to ranges like this, where, you know, low tier, 11.5 kilometers is somewhat long range for your cruisers and battleships. But here at the high tiers, this is point-blank range, to be honest with you. And if I get too much closer to that enemy Bismarck, I'm actually going to be within range of his secondaries, and I totally biffed on that. That's the Tirpitz, not the Bismarck. Get a solid 21,000 points of damage there on that broadside. And, excuse me, what I meant to say earlier was if that Bismarck was where the North Carolina is at right now, I would be in the range of his secondary. So this is certainly point-blank range here at the high tiers. So you do really want to operate at these distances, I'd say 10 to 13 in your German battleships. Specifically this and the Bismarck, just due to the accuracy. More shells falling in, 14,900 damage done, another solid salvo out. And as you can see when you close the distance, I mean, I'm pumping out some solid DPM on this guy. But if you keep German battleships like the Tirpitz at range and their inaccurate guns, if RNG gets a hold of it, it can actually make for quite the frustrating game. As I get yet another broadside out at that enemy North Carolina, already up to 66,000 points of damage, and subdued. There we go. Another Citadel. First ship destroyed. That Tier 8 American battleship up to 77,000 points of damage, and we're just getting warmed up. 472 to 270, excuse me. The scores are, and we do have 2 of the 3 caps. So right now, this game is already looking pretty good. We have even the scores back out at 3 ships apiece. I'm staying bow in as much as I can from those 2 enemy battleships, the German brutes, that is. And just trying to swing my guns and shoot at whatever I can that's presenting me the best target. The Tirpitz does have a very solid turret rotation speed. It's about down to 30 seconds, so you can turn these turrets rather quickly and engage multiple targets. So as I continue to follow, I realize that getting into a running engagement with this Bismarck is certainly not going to be very advantageous to myself. German battleships and German cruisers as well, they're very good at getting the distance down to a somewhat medium range degree and then turning away and kiting away and using their rapid rate of fire and their solid armor piercing performance to be able to deal damage as they're getting out of dodge. And it's a tactic that I use a lot in my German cruisers, specifically Hipper through Hindenburg, and it's the same thing here on these battleships. So I realize what he's doing, and after his next salvo comes in and does about 10k to my superstructure, I use my repair and I turn away because there's no point in me doing so. So, we'll deal with that guy later. We'll leave it at that. Full broadside out at him, and then I continue to swing about to my starboard side, swinging the guns into play, and I'm going to get out of dodge. 5,000 there on that last parting salvo. So 569 to 210, we have taken a commanding lead. We've lost 4 ships to the enemy's 5, and I'm going to head over to Objective Bravo. That is where the majority of the enemy team is at, and we'll see what we can do. Forward guns from the Colorado coming in as I'm about reloaded on my full broadside. Get the full broadside out. He manages to bounce one off of my turret as well. Shells flying in on the Colorado. We're going to follow these shells in here real quick. See what happens. Not bad. 6,100. Not bad at all. Especially at that kind of range, 18 kilometers. That was a solid salvo, to be honest with you. You really don't see that kind of stuff unless you're playing in your Japanese battleships. Torpedoes incoming from the Fletcher, 6.2 kilometers away. He drops, it appears, 1 salvo on me and 1 salvo on the friendly Bismarck. And I'm going to make a bit of a dirt play in here. I start to turn in towards the torpedoes. And unfortunately, because this is just how things work, the Bismarck is going to turn into me right at the last second to try to get out of the way. And I also turn back into him as well. And our tips touch. And yeah, that sounded a bit lewd. Pardon me for that. I am going to get hit by a torpedo, and he's going to get hit by one as well. So the worst case scenario happened. I do get flooding, take about 10,000 points of damage, and I'm on my merry way. Front salvo out at the Fletcher. Managed to score a couple hits for 2,300, get a base defense ribbon, and before I'm able to swing my guns into play and get the rear turrets out on the Fletcher, he is going to die. Right. Come on. Where's that? Maybe he does get away. Never mind. Takes some high explosive shells from him. Oh, no, there he goes. The Yagumo took care of business. 656 to 168, up to 94,000 points of damage, and we're doing pretty good so far. So at this point, with Objective Alpha completely secure, I tell my buddy Puddin, hey man, let's get up to Bravo, let's get stuck in there. And luckily for me, the Fletcher left a very nice American smokescreen, so I'm going to be able to use this to mask my approach into Bravo and hopefully surprise any of the enemy ships that will be coming in on my position. And like I said earlier, the Tirpitz, this is one mean battleship to get caught out at, with your pants hanging around your ankles at close or even point-blank range, because the armor and the combination of that with the faster rate of fire compared to its contemporaries just makes this thing extremely dangerous to deal with. And, of course, we can't forget the torpedoes. Broadside falling in on the Colorado, 13.3 kilometers, and there we go, 11,000 points of damage. A very, very solid salvo. Enemy Benson gets spotted just off my port bow area. He's 9.5 kilometers away, and he's moving. And I'll let my destroyers handle that. I'm going to continue to move here into the smoke screen. And like I said, you see the damage that I've dealt. The majority of it has been at around 13 kilometers or less in that 10 to 13 kilometer window that I speak of that I really enjoy getting the ship in. Ugh, you see the accuracy on that? Yeah, that was rough. 1,100 damage, and I still managed to hit 2 shells out of that, but you saw the shells coming out of the barrel. That was absolutely atrocious. So at this point, I decide either am I going to slow down and stay in the smoke, or am I going to turn left into the enemies, or turn starboard and go away from them? So I really hadn't made up my mind. I'm only 7 seconds away from capping, but then I finally do so as I get a broadside out. I'm going to turn back to starboard, get a full broadside out, and get the base cap, and then kite away. 12,000 points of damage. There we go, just under 9 kilometers away from me. Very solid stuff here. The Benson appears he's making a move for me. I'm looking to drop torpedoes, but then I notice out of the corner of my eye there's a friendly Yaguma right there, so it would be best not to drop those torpedoes. And I'm now looking with 5 seconds left on the reload for a shot here at the Bismarck. Again, I'm letting my friendly destroyers take care of the Benson problem. Looking back on it, probably not the right play, considering the result of this broadside out on that Bismarck. Only get about 4,000 damage. Probably should have shot at the Benson, but I digress. Hindsight is always 20/20, right? Take about 8,800 in from him in return. So there's still a Tirpitz at 2/3 health, roughly. There's a Tirpitz at almost full health. The Colorado is moving in at close to no hit points. And there's a Bismarck at about 2/3. So turning away, I think it was the best play here. Get my one forward gun out with 387 hit points on the Colorado. Managed to snag kill number 2, that Tier 7 American battleship, and shoot the rest of my guns at the enemy Bismarck, but I believe they all miss. Yes, they do. His return fire comes in, hits the superstructure. I take a bit of damage, and it's a good thing I turned away for that Benson, because you're going to see a couple more torpedoes get spotted here, but I believe he doesn't have 10-kilometer torps. I think they're like 9.2 or something. So because I turned away, they're going to run out before they hit my ship. So still all those enemy battleships at that perfect engagement range that I speak of, looking for a solid broadside here on the enemy Bismarck. Trotter is his name. Shells falling in, and we'll see here. You can't really tell here in the replay, 9,400 points of damage there, but where I'm aiming is not at the waterline on these German battleships. I'm aiming right where the top of the hull meets the deck. And if you're able to get shells that land right in that sweet spot above the belt armor but below where the anti-aircraft guns and stuff would be, it's very, very thin on most battleships, and you can just get some sick damage, as you'll see with some of the other salvos coming up. This one is going to land right at the front of the bow and manage to get quite a few penetrations, overpins that is, for 8,500 points of damage. 143,000 total, 3 citadels, 2 ships destroyed, 1 assisted base cap, so very solid stuff. On this next salvo, though, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. My buddy Puddin has been getting absolutely smacked by all those battleships, but he does manage to land, it appears, 2 torpedoes on this Tirpitz, and again, you're going to see right where these shells land is exactly what I'm talking about. They're going to hit above the waterline, but right into that meaty portion of the deck. There we go, about 10,000 points of damage. Very solid stuff. And even though he's outside of my optimal engagement range, as long as you get a couple shells to land there, you can do some very solid stuff with it. Swinging my guns into play, now getting angled against the enemy Bismarck and Tirpitz that are over there, and I'm going to shoot yet another broadside here on this enemy Tirpitz. He's got 18,000 hit points, and he's getting some of his health back. And once again, please take a note where these shells land. You see that nice pair right there, just behind the smokestack. There we go, about 8,000 damage. High caliber secured, 861 to 277 is the score, and the enemy battleships, those 3, are the only ones left. So at this point, I decide to make a very bold play. That Bismarck, like I said, has the really good secondaries, but I'm going to try to get in range for a torpedo attack as some of his shells bounce off of me, looking for yet another broadside here on the Tirpitz. And once again, please take note of where these shells land. You can get some massive salvos just like this. There we go, 11,000 points of damage, 173,000 total, 3rd ship destroyed. All of them have been battleships so far, and at this point this Bismarck is making a bit of an error here. If you want to engage a Tirpitz successfully in that battleship, as long as you have the secondary build, is to stay outside of his torpedo range. It would sound pretty simple, but in execution, quite a few people just don't understand. So he's making it easier for me as I score about 4,000 points of damage. His secondaries finally start to open up, but he has to deal with those friendly torpedoes that are coming in from my friendly Yagumo. So at this point, he has to keep his course relatively straight, so it allows me to continue to close the distance. And at about 3.5 kilometers away, as I pick up the Confederate, launch a full broadside of torpedoes just slightly in front of the white indicator on screen. The reason why is because he hasn't completed his turn to the right fully, so it would make that white indicator go out to my left as you're looking at it on the screen just a bit before it starts to move back to the right as he turns away from me. So that's a little PSA for you guys there. 1 and 2 and 3 torpedoes slam home. 17,000 points of damage. Just cracked 203,000 points of damage. My 4th battleship destroyed in the game. 4 seconds left on the front turrets. Will I be able to secure the Kraken and take home a very great game? 2 turrets out, shells falling in, and we'll see if RNG throws us a bone. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Kraken unleashed. What a game in the Tirpitz. Alrighty, guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 816,000 credits received. Almost 8,000 total XP. This was the first win of the day for me in this ship. Kraken, High Caliber, and Confederate. Probably my 3 favorite medals to get in my battleships. Dealing damage and sinking ships. 209,000 points of damage. 80 shell hits, 3 torps, 5 ships destroyed, 2 fires set, 3 citadels, a defense ribbon, an assisted capture ribbon. What a fantastic game. Taking a look now at the team score. 5 ships destroyed, 2,600 base XP. What a game. That 800,000 credits is one of the highest that I've ever earned here in the Tirpitz, and this is also one of my best games, so very good stuff. And, I mean, I'm always broke because I go down way too many ship lines at once, so I'm sure plenty of you guys feel for me. With that being said, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, signing off. Have a great day. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.